Dillon Gabriel may not have asked for the spotlight, but he's become the unexpected center of a controversy that's tearing the Browns apart. Slotted into first-team reps over Shedeur Sanders, Gabriel's rise hasn't been about poor performance. It's about what his elevation represents, a coaching culture that values familiarity over fire. The loudest backlash has come from Bill Musgrave, Sanders' position coach, who has taken the extraordinary step of calling out Kevin Stefanski for what many now see as a rigged system.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
In Musgrave's eyes, this isn't just a strategic misstep. It's an ethical failure. What started as a depth chart decision is now an organizational reckoning. Musgrave's public challenge forces Cleveland to confront whether its leadership believes in open competition or closed-door politics. And as long as Sanders is locked out of opportunity, the Browns may find their biggest battle isn't on the field. It's within their own walls. The Cleveland Browns are unraveling, not because of an injury, not because of a loss, not even because of a blown trade or some off-field scandal. No, what's happening right now in Berea is far worse. It's an identity crisis in real time, and it's playing out on the practice field, in front of the media, in front of fans, and within their own coaching staff. At the center of it all, a rookie quarterback, a veteran coach, and a head coach who has gone completely silent. This entire storm started over a simple question. Why isn't Shedeur Sanders getting first-team reps? By all accounts, Sanders has been doing everything right. He's prepared, focused, engaged, and most importantly, he's showing out. His work ethic has been praised by insiders. His mental sharpness? On point. He's reportedly mastering the playbook faster than expected and delivering clean, smart reps in second-team sessions. But despite that, despite all signs pointing to a player who's more than capable of handling himself on the big stage, Sanders remains locked out of first-team offense. And the guy getting those reps instead? Dillon Gabriel. Talented, sure, but not as consistent, not as clean, not as dynamic, and frankly, not the future. So when the Browns continue to deny Sanders real opportunity, week after week, quarterbacks coach Bill Musgrave finally had enough. He spoke out, directly, publicly, and unapologetically. Musgrave didn't mince words. He made it known that Sanders was ready, that he deserved a shot, that the decision to keep him out of first-team reps wasn't based on performance. It wasn't about readiness. It wasn't about protecting a young quarterback. It was about politics. And with that one move, Musgrave did something that no one else in the building had the courage to do. He called it like it is. From that moment on, this wasn't about quarterback competition. This wasn't about development timelines or system familiarity. This became about something much deeper, how this organization makes decisions, how power is managed, and how talent is evaluated or ignored. Musgrave didn't just challenge a play call. He exposed a broken system. And instead of addressing it, Kevin Stfansky clammed up. He hasn't responded. Not publicly. Not internally. According to multiple reports. The man at the top of the coaching food chain, the one responsible for setting the tone, for managing conflict, for keeping his staff aligned, is acting like nothing happened. But everyone else knows something did. Because when a quarterback coach openly contradicts a head coach, that's not a disagreement. That's a fracture. That's a full-on internal power struggle. And now, that power struggle is bleeding into everything. The media is on it. Local outlets are analyzing practice film, questioning snap counts, tracking body language. National reporters are dropping phrases like organizational dysfunction and culture problem into casual interviews. And Browns fans? They're furious. The timeline is on fire with questions and conspiracy theories. Is this Stefanski protecting his guy? Is it a front office mandate? Is it about preserving a narrative that no longer holds? No one can get a straight answer, and that's the problem. This isn't just a rookie being slow-rolled. This is a coaching staff burying a talented quarterback and refusing to justify it. And now that Musgrave has called attention to it, the entire structure of the Browns is under scrutiny. It's not just about Shedeur Sanders anymore. It's about whether the Browns are capable of building a winning culture. One based on merit, not politics, on performance, not pecking order. Because right now, it doesn't look like they are. Stefanski's refusal to acknowledge the issue isn't just weak, it's dangerous. It creates a vacuum, and that vacuum gets filled with resentment, frustration, and distraction. And once that sets in, it spreads. It spreads to other position coaches, who start second-guessing their place in the system. It spreads to players, who start wondering whether their work will ever matter more than their draft status or the coach's preferences. And it spreads to the locker room, where confidence erodes and leadership gets questioned. This is how a team tears itself apart from the inside out. And the worst part? It's completely avoidable. Shedeur Sanders isn't demanding the starting job. He's not going to the press. He's not making noise. He's just doing the work. And all Musgrave is saying is this: give him a fair shot. Let him run with the ones. Let him show what he can do in a real evaluation, not just scrimmages with the backups. But for some reason, that's too much to ask in Cleveland. And it's not like the offense is on fire without him. Gabriel's reps have been inconsistent. The chemistry with the first unit hasn't clicked. The offense looks flat. So the question becomes, why not Sanders? Why stick to a plan that isn't working when you got a quarterback on the roster who's more than ready? And that's what makes the situation so maddening for fans. Because it doesn't feel like a football decision. It feels like a political one. And once fans believe the team is choosing hierarchy over honesty, loyalty over logic, the support starts to slip. The belief erodes. They've seen this story too many times before. The Browns say they want to build a competitive team. They say they believe in developing young talent. They say the best player will play. But when it comes time to back that up with action, they fall in line. They protect the structure. They mute the voices that challenge the system. And they wonder why progress never lasts. This entire situation has now snowballed into a crisis of trust. Can players trust that if they outplay someone, they'll be rewarded? Can coaches trust that speaking truth won't cost them their job? Can fans trust that the people running this franchise actually care about winning, and not just managing egos? Right now, none of those questions have good answers. And the longer Stfansky stays quiet, the more people assume the worst. Because leadership doesn't mean hiding. It doesn't mean ignoring dissent. It means facing the tough moments, answering the hard questions, and putting the team above yourself. And that's what hasn't happened. If the Browns want to salvage this season, and this locker room, they need to act. That means giving Sanders the reps. That means empowering the coaches who speak truth. And that means Stefanski has to drop the facade and lead from the front, not behind a script. Because this mess isn't going away. Every day they pretend it doesn't exist. It grows. More players will start talking. More reporters will start digging. More cracks will start forming. Until eventually, it's not just a coaching controversy. It's a full-blown team implosion. And the saddest part is, it never had to be like this. One talented rookie. One honest coach. One opportunity to do the right thing. That's all it would have taken. Let us know your thoughts. Are the Browns sabotaging Sanders to protect the status quo? Is Stefanski in over his head? Or is Musgrave the only one in the building who sees what's actually going on? Drop your comments below. Like if you're tired of seeing coaching politics derail player development. Subscribe for more real talk on the league's biggest messes. And share this with someone who still believes this is all just part of the plan. Because if this is the plan, it's failing. Fast. Plan isn't even the right word. Plans imply foresight, strategy, logic. What's happening inside the Cleveland Browns facility right now doesn't resemble a plan. It looks like fear dressed up as authority. It looks like stubbornness masquerading as discipline. And the results? Predictably disastrous. The Shedeur Sanders situation has peeled back the curtain on everything this organization hoped to hide. How they protect hierarchy, how they silence dissent, and how they routinely choose politics over progress. What should have been an exciting rookie development story has spiraled into one of the ugliest leadership breakdowns in recent NFL memory. Let's be honest. The Browns didn't just mishandle this, they weaponized it. Instead of embracing Shedeur's readiness and seizing the opportunity to build momentum, they've treated him like a threat, not to Dylan Gabriel, not to the offense, but to the order they've carefully constructed behind the scenes. And the longer they keep him out of first-team reps, the more obvious that becomes. If this were really about letting the process play out, Sanders would be getting reps alongside Gabriel. They'd be splitting time, competing, pushing each other. But that's not what's happening. Sanders isn't just behind on the depth chart. He's buried under it. He's being actively excluded from the part of training camp that actually matters. And the fact that his own quarterback's coach had to go public just to force the conversation, that's not just dysfunction. That's institutional failure. Bill Musgrave didn't step into the storm because he enjoys chaos. He didn't go off script to make headlines. He did it because he saw a situation that was too broken to fix quietly. He saw a coaching staff refusing to reward talent, and a head coach doubling down on a flawed plan for reasons that had nothing to do with football. And that's where the story stops being about reps and starts being about rot. Because when internal politics become more important than performance, you've already lost the locker room. You might not feel it in week one. You might not see it on the stat sheet. But it's there, in the tension between coaches, the doubt creeping into players' minds, and the growing gap between what the Browns say they stand for and what they actually do. Let's not forget how rare the situation is. A position coach going rogue like this doesn't happen in a healthy system. It's not just insubordination, it's desperation. Musgrave didn't go public to stir the pot. He did it because nobody in leadership was listening to him behind closed doors. And when that happens, it tells you exactly what kind of operation you're dealing with. The Browns aren't just fractured, they're paralyzed, trapped in a loop where the fear of being wrong outweighs the desire to get right. And what's Stefanski doing? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He's let the narrative fester. He's refused to address Musgrave's comments. He hasn't defended Gabriel, clarified Sanders' role, or even acknowledged a very real split within his own coaching staff. It's leadership by omission, and it's only making everything worse. Every day Sanders goes without meaningful reps, the pressure builds. Every media session where Stefanski avoids a topic, the story grows. Every lackluster practice from Gabriel makes the silence more deafening. And the fans? They've had it. They're tired of waiting. Tired of excuses. Tired of watching a franchise bury talent to protect fragile egos. Browns fans are loyal to a fault, but they're not stupid. They can see the writing on the wall. They know what's going on. They know Shedeur Sanders isn't just being developed. He's being delayed. Delayed so Stefanski doesn't have to admit that his pre-draft evaluations were wrong. Delayed so the staff doesn't have to pivot off the player they already bet on. Delayed because giving Sanders first-team reps would force them to acknowledge they've been playing politics from the jump. And that kind of delay doesn't just waste time. It burns trust. Let's talk about that trust. Because right now, it's being torched on multiple fronts. Player trust. The locker room knows what's happening. Players see effort. They see talent. They know who's rising and who's being held down. And once they stop believing that their work matters more than their draft slot or the coach's preferences, you've lost them. Coach-to-coach trust. Musgrave going public was a vote of no confidence in Stefanski's leadership. That doesn't just go away. It lingers. It spreads. And if you don't think the rest of the staff is watching how this plays out, think again. They're watching everything. Fan trust. This was supposed to be the turning point. A new era. A chance to build something around real, emerging talent. But now, the fan base is asking hard questions about leadership, about honesty, and about whether this front office is even capable of change. And finally, media trust. The press can smell when a team's trying to spin a story. They know when silence is a strategy. And right now, they're not just reporting on the Browns' quarterback situation. They're dissecting the organizational dysfunction that created it. And still, the Browns pretend this is just part of the process. It's not. This is not how winning teams operate. This is how fragile teams operate. Teams that are so desperate to maintain control, they sabotage their own future in the name of stability. And if the Browns aren't careful, they're going to lose more than a quarterback competition. They're going to lose the entire season before it even starts. The solution isn't complicated. It's not dramatic. It's not even risky. Give Shedeur Sanders first-team reps. Now. Not next month. Not after Gabriel falters in live game situations. Not after the media forces your hand. Do it because it's right. Because it restores trust. Because it shows you're capable of adjusting. Because it proves that performance matters. Or don't. And watch everything continue to unravel. Because that's where this is heading. Fast. The Browns had a choice when this controversy started. Lead through it or duck responsibility. They chose the latter. And the fallout has been relentless. What should have been a clean, merit-based camp competition is now a PR nightmare. A fractured staff, a confused locker room, and a rookie quarterback with every reason to feel sabotaged, yet still showing up, still working, still doing his job. And the leadership above him? Nowhere to be found. This isn't the calculated discipline of a team staying cool under pressure. This is a paralysis of leadership that doesn't know what to do when the spotlight turns inward. Stefanski's silence isn't calm, it's avoidance. And the longer it goes on, the worse it gets, not just for Shedeur Sanders, but for everyone inside that building. Because here's the thing. When a franchise like the Browns, already known for instability, faces a moment like this, one where talent and truth collide with outdated hierarchy, you'd think they'd lean into the opportunity, use it to evolve, shift course, make the bold move. Instead, they're clinging to a structure that's crumbling in real time. Let's break this down plainly. You got a rookie quarterback, praised for his poise, his work ethic, his intelligence. A quarterback who, by all reliable accounts, is performing well in camp. A quarterback who should at least be given a shot to show what he can do with the ones. Not a promise, not a handout, just a chance. And then you got Dillon Gabriel. Decent, steady, safe. But that's the key word. Safe. Gabriel doesn't shake the room. He doesn't challenge the plan. He doesn't threaten the power structure. He just fits the mold. And that's what this is really about. The Browns don't want to build something new. They want to preserve what they already built, even if it's broken. And that's what makes this not just frustrating, but tragic. Because Shedeur Sanders could be the spark that finally shifts this franchise's trajectory. He's talented enough, mature enough, hungry enough. But instead of lighting the fire, the Browns are dousing it with bureaucracy and fear. They're choosing silence over merit, politics over performance, loyalty over leadership. And Bill Musgrave said, no more. The fact that a coach with decades of experience, respected in quarterback circles, willing to put his job on the line, chose to speak out tells you everything. This wasn't a miscommunication. It wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a deliberate decision to go public, because everything inside the building had failed. Musgrave likely tried the meetings, tried the staff discussions, tried to push for Shedeur behind closed doors. And when those efforts were met with resistance or ignored completely, he made the only move left. He spoke for the player the organization refuses to. And now, Stefanski's in an impossible position. Not because he can't fix this, but because doing so would mean admitting what's already obvious to everyone else. They got it wrong. They mishandled Sanders. They alienated their quarterback coach. They created a mess that didn't need to exist. And instead of taking accountability, they've gone full damage control. But that's not working either. The press won't stop asking. Fans won't stop questioning. And more dangerously, players won't stop noticing. Because culture isn't built in press releases. It's built in practice, in meetings, in the silent signals leadership sends. And right now, those signals are saying, speak up and you'll be ignored. Outperform and you'll still sit. Earn your shot doesn't matter. That's a culture killer. You think players don't see that? You think wide receivers aren't noticing who throws better balls? You think defensive veterans aren't wondering why the rookie, who studies more film than anyone, isn't getting tested with the starters? These guys know, and they're not dumb. They've seen what happens when coaches play favorites, protect their narratives, and refuse to adapt. It never ends well. It leads to fractures, to distrust, to losses. So the question becomes, what are the Browns really willing to sacrifice to keep this power dynamic in place? Because right now, there's sacrifice in development, momentum, locker room chemistry, and possibly their season. And for what? to protect an offensive rotation that isn't even producing, to defend a quarterback room that's clearly divided, to avoid a few headlines that have already been written. This is the part where teams with actual vision course correct, where leaders step up and admit they need to reevaluate, where humility becomes strength. But based on everything we've seen from Stefanski during this saga, that's not coming. What is coming is more instability, more questions, more distractions. Because the second this team starts to struggle on the field, and they will if this continues, everything comes flooding back to the surface. Every missed rep for Shedeur will be second-guessed. Every third-down failure will be compared to what Sanders could have done. Every locker room conversation will start with, if they just given him a chance. And all of it will trace back to one moment. The decision to protect structure instead of challenging it. That's what makes this not just a quarterback controversy, but a referendum on the Browns as an organization. Do they actually believe in growth, in meritocracy, in listening to the coaches closest to the action? Or do they only believe in those things when they're convenient? Because this moment right now, this is when it counts. This is where the franchise either takes a hard look in the mirror and makes the difficult but necessary change, or continues to lie to itself and everyone watching. And if they choose the latter, the cost won't just be one season. It'll be the reputation they've been trying to rebuild for years. The one that says, Cleveland finally has it together. That reputation on the verge of collapse. So what do you think? Are the Browns protecting comfort over competitiveness? Did Musgrave just say what everyone else inside that facility is too afraid to say? Or is this just the latest chapter in a franchise that still doesn't know how to get out of its own way? Drop your take in the comments. Like if you're done watching this team waste opportunities. Subscribe if you want more unfiltered breakdowns without the spin. And share this with someone who still thinks this is just about practice reps. Because those reps, they're exposing the truth. And everyone can see it.